lockdown's actually been good for me in a way that it's forced me into writing. You know, I've been collecting stories for the last 25 years, and I always had it in the back of my head that I'd love to write a book. And sort of, you know, easily for the last 10 years I've been on every trip taking a dictaphone with me, and I just like,
really,
end of every day, just who I've been with, what I've been doing, how I feel. You know, like on
just
the road.
Always with the vision of like, at some point I'm going to collate these into a single
and even
body
if it
of work.
was just a memoir for myself, or you know, for any, like Atlas might one day when he's truly bored might like to read it.
So cool.
So yeah, lockdown was good in that way, that it gave me, you know, the first lockdown, it gave me time to clear my mind, because in this, like in the world that I work in, like last March when lockdown started, I was in South Sudan filming for 3 weeks. It's coming back. Anna, my wife, was heading off on another job. We were just kind of like ships in the night, and we were both already at the end of the year. You know, in our heads we're at the end of the year. I knew I had several trips on. I'd be starting Ocean X, I'd be bouncing, you know, between jobs, and so we were, I suppose, the same as everyone. You just head down, move your feet, you're sort of shuffling. So when lockdown happened, it was, you know, it was unfortunate, but as with lots of things in life that you don't have control over, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. So it's try and make the best of that situation, and it just gave me that time to sort of sit down, collate all the stories, file them, edit them, and then get through to the book. But it's pretty soul destroying when you have so many cool stories and you're sort of writing it and you're like, that 6-week expedition doesn't make it. That 6-week expedition doesn't make it.
Just wasn't cool enough.
Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose that's the good point, is that when you write a book like that you're not scraping together to try and make something that's interesting.
Yeah, you've got plenty of material.
Got plenty of stories there, and you know, with the book I didn't want to write a book that was like, hey, this is Aldo Kane, this is how good I am, blah blah blah. You know, I hate that. So that's why it's called Lessons from the Edges. Like, these are all things that I've done, but this is what I've learned from it. You know, you can learn a lot from being up at creek without a paddle, and that transfers directly into, you know, your everyday life. When you've dealt with things like that, then hardship in life becomes easier. And so it was to try and distill all of those lessons, or as many of those lessons as I could. And bear in mind, I'm not a psychologist or an expert in the subject, but what I have learned over the years is how to manage and conduct myself in situations that are extreme, remote or hostile, and that ultimately is, you know, that's transferable for everyone, whether it's decision making or whether it's you know, how to deal with lack of motivation, or so yeah, that's, you know, really it's a memoir of all the trips and expeditions that I've done, with a bit of takeout for people that are interested in reading it.
Yeah, that want to learn from the kinds of adventures that they don't necessarily get to go on themselves.
Yeah, whenever you see someone on Instagram, or you see someone on social media, or you see someone on the television, it's a snapshot of their life, and it's possibly their best life at that point, right? Edited, you know. So this book talks about almost all of the failures up until the point where I've had 1 or 2 successes, and that's it. But you're only as good as your last success, aren't you? You know, no one's ever 100% of the time on the ball. No one's ever great all the time. And so really it's just it's an honest account of my life up until 43. So I'm kind of...
So that's what you mean when you say it's kind of not just blowing your own trumpet?
Well, I mean, it's probably quite the opposite. You know, it's more, this is how distinctly average I am. Really, you know, there's, you know, if we talk about CrossFit, you know, there's a million people fitter than me. You talk about climbing, there's a million people better than climbing at me. You know, all these things, I'm basically a jack of all trades. That's why I feel like it could be quite inspirational
to a lot of people.
Or aspirational, because I am, like I say, distinctly average. Apart from being slightly over 6 foot myself, which is why Marcus is walking in a rut right now so that he can be at the same height as me.